We're also about to be live on Instagram. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Instagram. Welcome to Urban View, channel 126. Here we are on SiriusXM. Lots to get to today. Don't have a whole lot of time. Representative Gwen Moore is joining us, and then the brothers from Black History 365 will be with us today. Lots to get to. It's going to feel like you're sipping from a fire hose, and that's okay because it's good, clean water. But what we have right now by way of news is a whole lot of warnings economically that we all need to be prepared for. Today's Financial Times has a report on the climate risks that we are all experiencing, how it is going to also increase home foreclosures. Now, when I was a baby lawyer coming out of corporate law, I went into private practice. And in that private practice, my primary role was keeping Black people in their houses because I was defending homeowners, suing bad police officers because there were a lot of them. And those are my favorite kind of lawsuits. It's to sue the bad police, but also to prevent people who were dealing with debt from being overtaken by their debt burden. I was doing poor people law. And it was very concerning for me because this was also about the time when the foreclosure crisis was kicking off. And so I was seeing the impact of really bad economic financial policies negatively impacting my community in particular. But according to today's Financial Times, which I have right here, you can see the article right there. Oh, sorry, Instagram, you can see it too. Climate risk is increasing home repossessions. And this is going to matter a lot, particularly for those of you who are aware of these tornadoes and the impact that we saw with the tornadoes in Missouri and Kentucky. Shout out to Missouri and Kentucky. We are praying for y'all because the images look absolutely terrible. According to the report, financial related disasters are increasing the risk of home foreclosures in the United States and could cause billions of dollars in annual mortgage related losses over the next decade. Billions with a B. Now, keep in mind, Black people during the foreclosure crisis of 2008, 9, and 10, dare I say, is continuing because a lot of us realize that we are in communities where that foreclosure crisis gave rise to gentrification that a lot of us are still dealing with right now. But during the foreclosure crisis of 2008, Black communities collectively lost 50% of our collectively held wealth. Why? Because most of our wealth was kept in our homes. We were buying homes, and that was our greatest source of wealth. And so when we were buying loans or buying homes with really fraudulent loan products, and we've talked about this before, but really fraudulent loan products like these so-called adjustable rate mortgages. If your mortgage got the words adjustable rate in front of it, baby, that's not for you. Don't do it. It's for them jokesters, them shysters, and janky ass people out there. Do not take an adjustable rate mortgage. If you cannot get a mortgage without having an adjustable feature to it, baby, just this ain't the time to buy a house. Just trust me. Trust your sister friend. I'm just letting you know that's what it is. According to the report, uninsured damage from flooding, as well as the depreciation of home values and rising insurance premiums from increasingly destructive climate disasters, could lead to as much as $1.2 billion in credit losses just in 2025 alone. It's been estimated that in the United States alone, just about 19,000 homes may end up being foreclosed upon just this year alone, thanks to climate change. Now, this is significant because, as we saw in the reports, these tornadoes in Missouri and Kentucky left 25 people dead, scores of people who were injured, and tons of billions of dollars in damages. Now, the challenge that you all are going to be facing in Missouri and Kentucky is the following. Ain't no more FEMA. Ain't no more FEMA. Remember the Federal Emergency Management Agency? And then Donald Trump don't like FEMA. The Republicans don't like FEMA. They say that the state should do what? Pay for it themselves. If you have disaster recoveries, the state should pay for it themselves. And so FEMA ain't coming. Now FEMA might be forced to come if people raise the pressure. And if people are doing the work of making sure that you're making your voice heard. But other than that, FEMA is not coming. And in fact, the Republicans want to defund FEMA. Now, they ain't going to defund the police, but they're going to defund your education. They're going to defund FEMA. They're going to defund everything else because we're in a moment right now where the Republicans are in power because of the people who voted and because of the people who stayed home. And basically, the Republicans are like, who's going to check me, boo? We didn't like FEMA anyway. And we told y'all we didn't like FEMA. And we said it in Project 2025. Did you read? You probably didn't. We did here, but that's us. Going on with the report, in 2024 alone, the United States suffered damages of $182.7 billion. And globally, the amount of cost as it pertains to climate-related insurance losses is $320 billion just in 2024. The United States represents over half of that amount. So we're in a situation right now where, quite frankly, ain't no more FEMA coming to help you. And your state probably doesn't have the capacity to fill in the gap of FEMA. And your insurance companies, particularly for those of you who live in states like California and Florida, you are seeing insurance companies abandon entire communities where if you are in a high-risk area, a high-flood zone area, you are finding it even more difficult to insure your homes. If you cannot insure your household, that means if you are suffering from some sort of climate disaster, when your climate disaster erupts and you can't insure your home, that means you can't rebuild. And it also might mean you might still be on the hook for your mortgage, depending on the terms and the conditions of the mortgage documents that you sign. So even if you can't rebuild your house, if you are still on the hook for the mortgage for the house that you can no longer live in, baby, trust me when I tell you, we in for a time. But that's not the only economic danger zone sign that we need to be aware of today. Hold on, let me open up my paper and turn the page, because where are we? That's right. We are also seeing that. Hold on. Oh, that was the wrong page. I turned the paper to the wrong page. Turned it to the wrong page. Oh, here we go. We are also seeing that new graduates who are coming out of school right now. Shout out to all the graduates. We love y'all. But in addition to the concerns about housing, and yes, I rustle my newspaper, so y'all gonna hear the paper sound. Sorry. Not sorry. But in addition to the fact that we are experiencing a lot of climate disaster related insurance losses, and that is going to have a ripple effect all across the country, because when the cost of insurance, when insurance payouts increase, all of our insurance rates are going to increase as well. But in addition to that, as a marker of economic concern, we're also getting reports about what's happening to graduates right now, coming out of college in what they're calling a frozen labor market. New U.S. college graduates are struggling to find jobs as businesses reduce hiring plans because of economic uncertainty. Economic uncertainty because of why? Because of whom? Because of why? Because of the Trump. Because remember, we had at the end of December of 2024 an economy that was the envy of the world. Remember that? We talked about how the Economist did a whole series. Somebody said how you find a physical newspaper. I order it. I get it delivered. I love the news. I'm a news junkie. But remember, we talked in December about how the Americans had what was considered the economy of the world. It was the envy of the world. And that was because of the policies of Biden-Harris. Now, this is not to say that all of us was doing amazingly well, but it is to say that in comparison to other nations, peer nations, the United States economy was the best thing going. And then Donald Trump came into office, and we've gotten all this uncertainty as a result of that. But according to the report, job postings on student and graduate recruiting platforms are down, not by a little bit, but down 15% this year as compared to last year. Internships are being posted at a rate that has not been this low since COVID. So a lot of y'all coming out of school, you might want to see if you can go back to school, because, you know, that is a Black woman's support tool. We go to school. We go to school and get more degrees. Don't take out more debt. And you might have to take out debt because ain't no more financial aid coming to a whole lot of people, because this federal subsidized loan packages that a lot of us relied upon may no longer be available to us. But here we are. According to the report, employers who were polled by the National Association of Colleges and Employers late August of last year, last August and September, they did a poll of all of the people who were hiring and what their hiring numbers were going to be. And according to the poll, last September and October and August, they said that they were going to hire 7.3% more graduates this year than they did in 2024. 7.3%. That was going to be an increase over the record rates of 2024. Howsoever, thanks to y'all's president, thanks to those of you who either voted for the Republicans or stayed home because, you know, that woman wasn't Black enough or whatever the reason was. And yes, we know there was voter suppression, but most of y'all stayed home. Just keep it 100. We got the numbers now. We got the data. Can't fool me. We got the data. But according to the report, the expectations of hiring have dropped from 7.3%. They have been slashed to 0.6%, which means, baby, if you got a job right now, the market is tough. The market is, don't be leaving that job until you're sure you got another situation. The market is very, very tough right now. But for the graduates who are coming out, you are going to be facing an increasingly difficult market. And so it's going to be important that you show up your resume, get work your network. Go back to my YouTube page and listen to all my conversations with Drew McCaskill. He gives some very good information on the job market and the hiring market. But according to the report says that people who already have jobs are relatively insulated. People looking for jobs are facing a much tougher environment. The monthly hiring rate, the number of new hires as proportion of the overall employment, was 3.4% in the first quarter of 2025, which is the slowest rate for that period in more than a decade. Now, that's not the only thing that's concerning me, because as I've talked about in my podcast, Lurie Breaks It Down, a couple of weeks ago, we had an episode that was looking at the fact that people were using layaway systems, basically buy now, pay later systems, to be able to afford food from DoorDash right now. And what did I say in that episode? I said, if you got to use layaway to order this food, I'm going to need you to go down to the kitchen and scramble you an egg and make you some rice and eat you a piece of fruit, because you should not be using layaway to pay for your food deliveries. But what we're seeing now is that Klarna, which is one of the largest buy now, pay later companies, companies is signaling they're a little concerned. Klarna, which is a Swedish company, has invested very aggressively in the United States because buy now, pay later is something that we Americans really love. We love to buy things we can't afford because that is the American dream. And according to the report, they are now very concerned at Klarna because they are reporting a loss of $99 million for the first 3 months of this year. Now, last year, the losses they reported were $47 million. So, baby, that's almost double. That's almost double. The company, according to the report, makes money by charging fees to merchants and consumers who fail to repay on time. And they said that their customer credit losses have risen up 17% as compared to last year. The increased failure to repay is on the back of the gloom in the United States, where there's been a closely watched measure of consumer confidence. Basically, they study how we feel about the economy. And what we have been saying that we feel about the economy is that the economy is trash right now. And that is worrisome to people who are concerned about investing in the economy, because if we are worried about the economy and we're the ones who are going to be buying now and paying later, and we are buying now, but we can't afford to pay later, that's a real problem for companies like Klarna. Now, what we're also seeing is that they've said that, hold on, where is it? Okay, so they've been very aggressive in the United States outreach, and they're saying that, well, listen, most of our loans are on a 90-day turnaround time, so we can adjust within a quarter. Like, we can quickly adjust if we see warning signs get out of control. Now, the reason they would adjust because they see warning signs get out of control is because we, the American people, can't pay our shit. We can't pay our bills. And if we can't pay our bills, then companies like Klarna are going to have a real problem, because not only are we not going to be able to pay Klarna, but then Klarna is not going to be able to secure the money from the merchants, because the merchants are no longer going to want to use Klarna, because it's going to be sending stuff to people who they know ain't gonna pay the shit back. And so when you consider the fact that we've got a much tougher job market for graduates, we've got 106,000 Black women who lost their jobs last year. And we ain't even talked about the numbers of Black men, because I don't know if the numbers, I think when I read the report, Black men had not suffered as steep of a loss. But when you consider the combined impact of Black men being underemployed, Black women being underemployed, and now gross amounts of Black men and women losing out on job opportunities that they already had, added to that a tough economic market for graduates who are coming out. Added to that, companies like Klarna, who need poor people to use their services, now sounding an alarm that poor people need their services so much they're not paying it back. Child, save your money. That's all I can say. Save your money, because we are going to have to figure out how to do community better. We are going to have to rely on mutual aid so much more, because we haven't even gotten to the point where the empty ships that spent 6 weeks coming out of China, if they came out of China at all, thanks to tariffs, that were empty. We haven't even gotten to that part of the that's in this chapter, but it's at the end of the chapter. Actually, it might be in the next chapter. I think we're going to experience a little bit more before we get to the end of the month and we see what's actually happening. Save your money. Get in community. Be working with people now. Think about the least impact. If you're doing okay, think about the least empowered people in your community. What would it look like to have to be able to provide for their needs without the resources that we tend to typically rely upon? What does your religious, faith-based community plan to do to help all the people who are going to need it? And those people might be you. It might be me. So let's be real clear about what time it is. Save your money. If you need to make a major purchase, you better make sure you got enough resources to put a down payment that's going to be significant, so that you don't find yourself in a situation later on where it's going to be really difficult to repay all that you have to repay. We're going to get ready to go to commercial break. Although I do have another announcement. I said this to the Urban View family, but I'm just reiterating it. We have done so well with the Lurie Breaks It Down podcast. Thanks to all of you who pay attention to the podcast, because this show is amazing. I love doing this show, but this show is something that only SiriusXM gets to experience unless you are tuning in on my lives where I do my opening segment. But the podcast, Lurie Breaks It Down, has done so well in 2 months that we've gone from posting just 3 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's now going to be a 5-day-a-week situation. So 5 days a week, we're going to be breaking down the news, making sure y'all are aware that you have the information that you need. Wait a minute, Amina, I want some applause for that, because I'm excited about it. I'm sorry, Amina was editing the podcast episode for today. But I'm going to be now 5 days a week, and that's a really good thing. Where's the applause? Applause, applause, applause. Applause. You got to applaud yourself sometimes, child. You got to call for your own applause. When the applause button ain't working, you got to big up yourself. Big up yourself. I mean, it ain't no applause yet. It's playing. Oh, it's playing. Oh, I don't have my headphones in. The applause is playing, but I can't actually. I can't hear it because I don't have my headphones in. That's why you have a team. Thanks for the applause. All right, so we got to go to commercial break. Representative Gwen Moore is going to be joining us. Much more to come on the Lurie Daniel Favorite Show. Lurie Breaks It Down episode today drops at 2 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I love y'all. Thank you for the support. Gotta go. Bye. We'll be right back, Urban View.